to touch on the old church that I was in, they had like a dress code. When you went up to like minister, you had to kind of look a certain way because we had cameras, we had all these things. I would wear my hair like this. If I could, I would go like this every day. For me, this is maintained. Even if it looks crazy, they had somebody come up to me and talk to me like about like trying to blow dry my hair to try to like straighten it to look more like, I guess more, I don't know, like just look more conditioned. And I remember being told like 30 minutes before the service started, I had one of the leads, like a leader in the church, I don't want to name, they came to me and they saw my dress. And for me, I checked myself and I was like, this is fine. But she turned me around and put me in front of a mirror and was like, when you step up on the altar, what they're going to see is all of like that. And I was like, oh, I did not know. She said, if you were more intelligent, you would go home and get changed and come back. And I was like, but because I'm so conditioned into obedience, it was like beat into me. So I was like, you're right.
All right. Any last questions before we do get started?
No. I don't know if you wanted me to nod or not.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone today in the Valley of the Heroic podcast. I am acting extra silly because I already know today's going to be the world's silliest episode because I am here with my long lost hermana. We starting real Spanish.
Yeah.
Even though Susan's not really a Spanish speaker, but we're not even gonna.
My Spanish is like church Spanish. That's it.
Church Spanish. She got, she has enough to just get by, and she could sing all of the Pentecostal songs that were ever created.
Amen.
So you see the amen, very Spanish. But either way, welcome to the podcast today. I am here with my friend and sister Susan. And Susan, I have known Susan for a very long time, probably too long, since fourth grade. Mr. Heller's class, shout out. Yeah. We don't know what that is, but these are just sounds that come out as you live life.
I can't stand you.
Either way, I want to give Susan a moment to just introduce herself, tell you who she is, what she does, and we'll jump right into the conversation. So go ahead, take it away, Sue.
Hey, y'all. I really don't know what to do, so I'm just going to say my name is Susan. I have known Eric since fourth grade. It feels like it was just yesterday, to be honest. Like, we've known each other so long that even with a gap that we had after, like, high school, when I saw him again, it was like nothing. Like, honestly, 100%, I saw him again working through a great program that he was a leader for. And I was like, it just feels like his 9-year-old self, my 9-year-old self, just a little taller, just a little older, but the jokes were the same. The like how we just vibed with each other, how we would fight in the next second, just be like, what's up? like nothing. But yes, I've seen him in his journey. A lot of you have seen how he's become like from baby Christian to mega Christian now that he is. I don't know if I should say that.
That is a lot to live up to. Mega Christians unite.
There you go. You see?
Like, I don't know. I just tried to summon my deepest mega Christian face.
It's like a transformer, like piece by piece that you get into, I guess, in your faith, mega Christian. But no, all jokes aside, I've seen him like where he was just starting in the Lord to where he is now. And I think all the glory goes to God because a lot of us just give up and throw in the towel and we kind of give in to whatever the world wants us to become. And it's so difficult in the times that we live in nowadays, where money appeals to everything. Sometimes we're just like, hey, you know what? I have a different calling maybe in this. I have never, really like dove into it, but I might as well. And there are people like Eric where they honestly were like, I'm going to give my full heart, my full dedication to the Lord. And I don't see a lot of people saying that. Tell me at least 10 people outside of your Christian group that would say, hey, I'm working for the Lord. I'm working for the church. I'm trying to minister. You won't see that. We're in a different like generation, a different group of people. And I just wanted to say that real quick before I even dive into myself, because I can testify for Eric and say I just saw beautiful things go in and out of his life and to the point where he is now. And I give all the glory to God to see a friend like that from when I was a child to an adult, still fighting the good fight. So I love you, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And there's nothing really going on with me, to be honest.
Before I get into myself and then gets to yourself, well, you know what? I don't really have much going on right now, you know?
I honestly, like, I go from, I don't know, I literally like Pocahontas. Like, I just let the wind talk to me and I just
That
go
is a
where.
perfect description. That is such a perfect description. Like, okay, so if you know Susan, she has like the fortitude and work ethic of John Wayne and the aloofness of Pocahontas. Like she's out there like, I am going to conquer all of the things. And then she sees a flower and she's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm not wrong.
You are not wrong, 100%. Like, I'm just like, this is great. Oh, wait, that looks cool. Let me go real quick.
No, but oddly enough, it's so funny because in everything that you told me, when I first met you, I actually wasn't Christian. I wasn't saved yet. And I remember you were one of my early introductions to Christians, right? You were one of the first Christians that I met back when you're going through that saga of like, are you Christian or Catholic? Everybody used to ask that back in the. You remember that? That was like really weird. Like those were the only two religions that exist in America.
Only.
And all the kids would just ask each other, are you Christian or Catholic? And then later on, you find out that Catholics are Christian, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Susan was one of the first people that I met who was like a hardcore Pentecostal Christian. And if you met her, she literally had something on her at all times during that time that showed her faith. Now, if you were in my school anywhere from fourth grade to when did you drop it? When did you like say enough is enough in high school?
Like 20, 21.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not lying.
I thought you wore pants in high school.
No, I was still with my folks, and the bravest one, Isabel, my older sister, if you know her, was the only one that did it during high school. And I was like, I am not going to go through that. I'm not going to go through that.
Well, no. Susan now wears pants. And if you are very confused to what we're talking about, Susan grew up in a very hardcore Spanish Pentecostal church, which I'm sure we're going to talk about today. Hashtag Rajatabla. Rajatabla. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I remember I always saw Susan, and Susan always had a skirt on 24/7. I'm guessing that she had a pajama skirt for when she went to sleep at night.
Moo-moos all day.
Yo, I can't. I don't even know what moo-moos are, and like I just the way it sounds, I'm like moo-moos. I don't even know what that is.
Where's my girl Jo? She would tell you. So it's like basically, you ever seen those grannies? Like when they're about to go to sleep, it's just a slow.
Oh, la bata.
There we go.
Yeah.
Basically, you would have one of those. It was like a long PJ, and it was
That's
like introduced.
Hilarious. I was playing. I thought you wore some pajama pants to sleep.
No, I wish. Like when I got older, like.
So God was so serious about the skirt that you couldn't even wear pants at.
Yeah, my brother had it worse. He couldn't wear shorts.
Wow.
Just pants. That's it. I remember we went to Sesame Place when we were like kids, like young kids. And we went with my uncles from my dad's side. And they were like, Mando, like put on some shorts, get your son. And my dad was like, he could do this all. And I could do this all with pants. And he didn't know that water parks in the United States, like you're supposed to wear shorts. You know what I mean? So he couldn't get on any of the rides. My brother barely could get on the rides. And Yeah, and like they allowed us girls to like wear maybe like shorts and then a skirt underneath, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the rides were like, no, they can't go in. So all we could do was like go through the little sprinklers that they
Oh
had.
my God.
Yeah, it was intense. Like my dad
All
was
right.
like OD.
We got to dive right into this because this is where we're going already. Like, I thought this was going to come out later, but we're going to dive right into this. What? Okay. That's just like all look. Okay. So obviously that comes from, I have so many theories on what that comes to, especially from a Spanish culture perspective. My theory is that because Latinos are a very fiery and passionate people, right? Like some people say we're hot blooded, right?
It's
Like
true.
with like all of the different areas, right? And I think what happens is that a lot of times Latinos, they come to Christ and they encounter him, and it's easier for them to lean into rules and regulations to keep themselves from falling apart in their faith because they're too scared to submit their will to Jesus and have him give them
Mm,
actual self-control. So they
amen.
try to control themselves with all these rules and restrictions because they feel like, hey, I'm too fiery even for Jesus. Like um like Spanish people, like for example, I remember growing up, there was a group of Spanish dudes who lived upstairs, and every weekend they just got extremely trashed. Like if Spanish people, like that's the most random example, but if Spanish people are gonna do anything, they're gonna do it to like the extreme, right?
Wow. I can
Right?
agree with that.
We party to the extreme. They used to get drunk to the extreme. You got like mujeriegos, men who just have a whole bunch of women is a big thing in our culture, or like machismo. I'm speaking
Mm,
from a male perspective, right? Because I'm a man. They're just like, oh, my woman needs to do this and do that. And it's just like we have all of these like strict ways of being, and it's all about like the extremes, right? And you come to Jesus and he says, like, grace I've given to you, and you encounter him and you realize that you're a sinner. So you think, oh, I got to take all of these extreme measures and now apply it to my faith, right? So I have to have all of these rules because if not, I'm going to fail God. Not
that's right.
realizing that you've already failed God.
Oh,
And so that's the whole point. The whole point is that we failed God and we can't reach God. So he reached us instead.
mm,
So hearing like some of that, I went to a Spanish Pentecostal church growing up. It was not as strict as yours. They were coming out of that. Um, so I remember like talk about when you started going to my Bible class and they said that I was too what was it? Like I was too free or I was too
yes.
liberal. I
The
don't know, I guess. What's
yes.
the word?
Those are the terms. Like nowadays you can hear that freely, like, oh, these lib like sorry for the word if you want to cut it out, but these are the words that they use, like libtards,
Mm-hmm.
liberal, like they have such liberal thinking, and it's like that was within our churches as well. Even if you were a kid, like I would go to it was like fighting my dad. Like I'm like, I want to go to Eric's Bible study. I want to go. And it was more so because he didn't want me to be persuaded by another Christian church who does allow their women to wear pants, or they have a little more, ease on how you live. And so he was just like, fine, I know Eric, I know his mom, I'll let her go. But once I came back recounting or saying anything from yours, he's like, that's wrong. Whatever they're saying
Yeah.
is wrong. Like,
Mm-hmm.
little things, like you're one of the people that were like, I guess, co-sessioning with you. I don't know what it is, but he was like, assisting, like, I guess he was a pastor and you were his like leader of the youth. I can't recall who he was, but I know he was like older, and he would just be the only other person that was speaking other than yourself. He
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, when you go to heaven, you'll remember everybody. And I was just like, what? Excuse me? Like, that is not what they taught us. And I was just like looking around the room, like, does everybody else believe this? Oh crap. Like, like, and I went home
Yeah.
and I was like, Dad, I'm going to know you when I go to heaven because that's what another pastor said. And Eric's, like church. And my dad was just like, is what I was worried about.
Yo.
And
Oh man.
it was tough.
Leave it to American Christians to take secondary issues and make them primary.
Mm.
Like that's disheartening, because if you think about it, right? All love and respect to your dad, because I got mad love and respect for your dad because he's mad dope.
Same.
And at the same time, it's just a common thing. It's a common way of thinking. Like, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours, and let's keep it separate.
Yes.
And that mindset comes into the church, even where people have churches, they're pastoring churches, and they don't want any commingling.
Yes.
Right? If you go visit another church, your pastor is going to have a conversation with you. Imagínate eso. Like, oh, I heard that you visited a church last week.
You're like, how?
Why did you do that? Right. Yeah. Because somebody told on you, because there's something to tell on. And it's like, that's another form of like that religious mindset that sometimes leaks into the church, or comes from the church probably, where it's like, we think that one person from our church going and visiting another church is going to result in some crazy thing. And granted, if a person does end up leaving your church and going to another church, does that matter as much? I mean, like, and that, okay, let's add another layer to this. When people leave a church and it's like, now nobody talks to you.
Scarlet letter, basically.
Yeah. Everybody's like, nobody reaches out. I've heard a lot of people go through this, like, nobody reaches out. Everybody looks at you like you're now, like te descarriaste.
Oh my God, that word. Oof.
Trauma. I can see the trauma on your face.
Because it was hard. When I left supposedly the church, now there was two different kind of churches back in the day, like in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It was like un legalista and un like liberal church. So that was like, I guess all the Hillsongs, all those other people, like those were liberal churches. Like they were like hippies of the Christian world. And then you had my churches where like Alpha and Omega, MAE and stuff like that, where they were federations. Like they were big time people that had their rule books. Like if you joined and you want to be in leadership, you had to go through their schooling. You had to go through their courses. You had to sit with the board. You had to like go through like a niveles, you can say, like to the point where you're licenciada, meaning, okay, now you can speak in the church. Now you can, actually like open up a service. And then you would finally have like a second, like lieutenant type of version of Christianity, where now you can preach about it. Now you can teach in the, like in the church. You can actually like run a Sunday school class of adults, not kids, adults, because now you got people that are going to follow your lead. And then finally you'll have, what was it again? What was it again? I forget what my dad was called, but he was like a propítero. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but now he can go to multiple churches. These were levels. Like if I can go deep into it, and it's like some crazy things. But I remember leaving that church, and I finally like cut my hair. I was still wearing skirts, but I was like putting a little bit of makeup and whatever. And some people that I did counter, I was like, wow, it's been a long time. And they're like, yeah, and rumors get around. This is like before, like, I guess so much social media was out, but they were like, oh, se descarrió. You know what I mean? Like, and
because you were wearing a little bit of makeup.
Se partó. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what? Like, I still love God. I tried doing the best that I could with what I knew. And also from, I guess, the church hurt that about, like, I was trying to do my best, you know what I mean, to keep a relationship with God, but not so much go back to that place. And I was considered a pecadora, you know what I mean, descarriada, se apartó de la presencia del Dios, all that good stuff, and it's like, your church doesn't give me the connection to God anymore. It's, and it's not that I ever had a real relationship, because a lot of people don't understand, just because you have so many rules and regulations doesn't mean you're the holier of holies. You know what I mean? You're not better than everyone else. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I didn't understand Jesus Christ. I didn't understand the Holy Spirit. I didn't understand faith. I didn't even know the basics of Christianity. I just knew the basics of an organization.
Ooh,
So
wow.
I just knew how it functioned. I understood what not to do. I knew the right things to say. I knew the how to like present myself so that I fit somebody's image of what a Christian woman should be.
Hmm.
And it was tough because I'm like, how are all my friends from school? Because I remember I'm like, yo, everybody's with Eric and his group. They look so happy. Like you guys were going through your ups and downs. I'm like,
Yeah.
but like, how are they still allowed to be Christian? Like that was my always my go to. I'm like, how? And then when I went to high school, even more people were like, oh, I'm Christian. I go to this. I'm like, but how?
Yeah.
Like, what I'm told is that we're the true church. We're the one religion. We are the the ejemplo que Dios wants in this world. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I'm like, how are all these people not sinners? Like, how are all these
Mm.
people going to the same heaven that I'm being promised? I'm like, while I'm over here suffering, I'm the one over here on the narrow path, and they keep like telling me Bible, but they're reading the wrong Bible, is what I'm saying. They
Right.
have a leader that is confused. He's probably a demon, and he just put a cloak over all these people because that's what my pastors are telling me. Those are what
Mm.
my leaders are telling me. And it's would be the scariest and saddest thing too, because I'm like, damn, when I go to heaven, I will not see these people because they're actually going to be in the lake of fire, as they would tell me. And I'm like, but
Wow.
poor them. You know what I mean? And I'm like, these are going to be only my friends on earth. This is the worldly views. And this is such a shame type of thing. And it was such
Hmm.
an elitist thought process and such a blinding way to live this life because I'm like, I could have been growing with these people. I could have learned faith through these people. I could have probably been where I am now in life when I was probably 13, 17, going through the same struggles. I could have had a community with you. And
Yeah.
I didn't. I basically went through it alone, you can say, with my siblings, and whatever kids I could find in church, when we were united every once a month in like Pleasantville, New Jersey, or a random place in Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic. And then I'm back to just what's given to me. The same,
Yeah.
you can say, mumble. I'm not going to call it mumble jumble. I wanted to say mumble jumble, but it's like the same, you know, word that I've been given since I was
Hmm.
born into it.
Yeah. Um, Tell me if I'm right in saying this. It sounds like it was just um your process of faith that was being given to you. Sounds like it was extremely lonely.
It was. You're not wrong. It was very lonely because everybody around me seemed like you could say like they were just pawns in this world for the devil, and the only people you could relate to were the people of your faith, and that was very few. I didn't go to a school where everybody went to my church. There was probably my cousin that knows about my religion, but even him, you know what I mean, I'm like, he's in the world, like I won't
Hmm.
get to see them. Like I didn't go to family functions, I didn't do any of that stuff, and then if I did, we were there for maybe an hour and we were out
Yeah.
because we didn't want to get contaminated.
Wow.
So it's like it was tough.
Yeah, it sounds extremely difficult. And there's people still going through stuff like this today. It's not,
Mm.
maybe it's not the same, but there's a lot of like residual effects of this still
Oof.
in churches, in Latino American churches, for example, or even other churches that maybe I don't know about. There's other ways that it's morphed and transformed into the same monster. And I'm wondering from your perspective, just based on you thinking about these thoughts and these times, like from your perspective, what do you think was the long term effect of all of that on your personal faith and walk with God?
Oh, to be honest, it was pure anger. I had pure anger. Like it was a ball inside my chest. Like I'm like, I can't breathe. It could have been anxiety, but it was just anger towards God, anger towards Jesus ever being born. Because it's
Mm.
like you now allowed for a cult to happen or a group of people to take what you have taught or you learned in your walk, and now they've morphed it into something so dictator like. And now they're drumming up all these armies and leaders to keep spreading this. And my fear, all as well as what I had after getting out of there, was this is going to continue on, and it will never leave me alone. It will haunt me through my adulthood. If I ever brought in children into this world, are they going to be affected by this? Because how they were speaking about it when I was a kid, like we were going to take over. We were going to be in every like city, every town. Like people don't remember this, but in Elizabeth, we had Christian parades like every weekend. And people would be on corners everywhere giving out chick books. I gave one to my teacher. You remember? I don't know if you remember, what was her name? Oh, man, she was our sixth grade teacher. What was her
Miss
name?
Gladys.
Yes, Miss Gladys, that angel on earth, man. I remember she was teaching us like just she was amazing, beautiful human being, light, you know what I mean, like wherever she walked. But because she had to teach us really briefly about the Big Bang Theory, here comes little soldier of Christ.
I've got a chick track for that.
This is gonna save you, woman.
Te reprendo.
Yo, she gave me detention for that.
Oh, snap. It might have been well deserved.
And she ripped it in front of me.
Oh my goodness. She was obviously offended. I wonder if she was like an atheist or something.
No, she was Catholic.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
She had her own kind of love for God, and here I am because I went home and told my mom, and I was just like, I'm right in my ways. And she's like, yeah, you are, girl. Go tell her. And I gave that chick book.
No, but listen, I applaud the zeal though. Like it takes, you gotta be a certain kid that's just like, I really believe this and I need to stand up. Because sometimes that could be a good thing, like if there's other kids, like if it happened to me, I probably would just be like, bueno, I don't think that
bueno. But
being honest, but like, it took a certain level of passion for you to be able to do that. And that's like the silver lining in that moment. But
well, you're sweet for that. For me, I was just like, I was títere for that, man.
No, but listen, like going back to what we were saying originally, like, excuse me, it does sound like that was incredibly lonely, and that it's also sad at the same time how instead of it producing a lively and vibrant faith, which is what I think, because we are a lively and vibrant people, that is what our faith should produce. And if we are able to reclaim that, the next generations to reclaim that and to pursue a genuine relationship with Jesus, whatever circumstances we might have faced and gone through in the churches of our youth, be able to say, you know what, they tried their best. Oddly enough, Encanto is coming to my mind. Have you seen Encanto?
Yes.
Right? The grandma was like super like rajatabla.
Mm-hmm.
She was just like, we have to protect the what is it called?
I don't know.
The blessing, whatever, the candle,
the little door.
Yeah,
that's
like
all I remember.
They need to protect the blessing or whatever it is that they have as a family, which gives them their powers, right?
Yes.
And so she did everything in her power to protect it, but it also meant that there were times where she would like yell at Mirabel and put her down because she didn't have a gift, and basically told her like, hey, why don't you just get out of our way? Not realizing that Mirabel was actually the person who was to succeed her.
That's right.
And because she didn't have a gift either. But she comes in and takes her spot and restores the blessing to the family when it goes away. Wow, that is wow. And so how many times do we as a people, right, in our churches before, were we probably putting people down, in the name of legalism and religion, which we thought was what we needed. How many times did that happen when in reality we should have been treating each other with love and respect so that the lively faith and the pure faith that I believe God has for us could abound?
Come on.
And like, it's incredibly sad because I have a personal relationship with you, right? I do know how that anger did impact your life and your hearts and your relationship with God. And I see that. And there's a part of me that it makes me angry. There's a part of me that it makes me sad. Either way, it's like, man, what could we have done so that the people like Susan would not come to the church, right? And we can even take this to another level, right? Because I know that we're talking specifically about your experience, but this is something that happens in the church over and over and over again. There's people who are coming to Jesus, and then they encounter the church, and they're like, "Nah, this ain't it, dog.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is going on here?" Right? And like, I remember, for example, being in rooms and in situations where I was told, "Oh, well, they're not going to invite you to preach
Yes.
at this church over here because they heard that you're friends with this person from that church." And I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Are we serious right now?
Yes.
Like, is this what we've really come to? Like, you're not going to invite me to this church over here is not going to invite me to preach because they found out that I'm friends with this person from this church over there.
Yes.
And I think that we've really failed at taking the steps to be able to understand each other.
Yeah.
We're not curious enough about each other's life. We just want people to obey.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like I say we, but I'm not specifically talking about me. I'm just talking about the examples of these churches, right? We don't want to be curious about what is it that brings you to our church today? What is it that brings you to what is it that brought you to Christ? It's just like, okay, how fast can we get you to obey?
Yes. And be like us.
Right? And be like us and be uniform. And what it comes down to is that it's about our comfort. Right? You ever been at a service where somebody walks in that they're not, and then some churches will go like and try to, I've heard of churches having jackets at the door. So that if men walk in, I don't know if they still do this. I hope not, bro. I hope that this is gone. But I heard back in the day that there would be churches, they would have literally jackets at the door, like blazers.
For us, it was like those holy blankets, like when the person would like pass out, it was those.
Yeah.
Like, please.
And you walk in, if your white tee, back then it was white tees, right? But if your white tee was too big and you had a chain, well, you need to either put this blazer on or you need to leave.
Yeah.
Because you can't come to Jesus like that. And then what do you accomplish when you do that? You accomplish not bringing people to Jesus. That's what you accomplish. And even the people that are there, a lot of them end up leaving because it wasn't even a genuine relationship with him that you were teaching them.
For me, because of my background, when I even came to a church that was more modern and more like livelier, because of, I guess, the conditioning I had, if they told me like I had to look a certain way, like to touch on the old church that I was in, they had like a dress code. When you went up to like minister, you had to kind of look a certain way because we had cameras, we had all these things. I would wear my hair like this. If I could, I would go like this every day. For me, this is maintained, even if it looks crazy. They had somebody come up to me and talk to me like about like trying to blow dry my hair to try to like straighten it to look more like, I guess more, I don't know, like just look more conditioned. And I remember being told like 30 minutes before the service started, I had one of the leads, like a leader in the church, I don't want to name, they came to me and they saw my dress And for me, I checked myself and I was like, this is fine. But she turned me around and put me in front of a mirror and was like, when you step up on the altar, what they're gonna see is all of like that. And I was like, oh, I did not know. She said, if you were more intelligent, you would go home and get changed and come back. And I was like, but because I'm so conditioned into obedience, 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 it was like beat into me. So I was like, you're right. And I jumped in my car, drove home, got changed, covered myself up even more. Like I put on like a maybe like a blazer or something like that because I grew up covering my arms and everything. I was like, here I am thinking I am in a more liberal church, more modern. And how dare I ever think that, I could show a little more like I'm in my head and I'm probably up there messing up the spirit from coming. And now should I even be up here? Like, and I just go into these like tangents or these little things where it doesn't seem to make sense for other people, but it makes sense for me because I grew up in a church like that. So it
Yeah.
used to suck because I'm in between. I felt like I was in the old Pentecost days, but I'm also in the new, like hip, like way of seeing Jesus Christ. So sometimes I'm like, am I being too extreme? Am I being too lenient? Like to the point where I just have, I guess, my relationship with God that I don't need that anymore. Like I don't need a man or a woman telling me you are doing correct. I just now allow for my spirit to feel calm. Like it took me having a relationship with my husband, even though good or bad, he always reminded me of like a gentle dove instead of
Mm-hmm.
being like astute. Because I always believed God was fire. He's, this thing that, encompasses you all, keeps you lit, and you're just at 100 all the time. And Everson was like, every time we were in services or anything, he would just close his eyes and just kind of like just chill. And I'm like, how
Mm-hmm.
could you be like this? Like, look at everybody. Like, everybody's like emotional and everybody's like breaking down in tears. He goes, you don't know what's going on in here.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, God can be calming too. He can be a nice breath of air, a gentle wind. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what you mean?
God is a God of fire. Didn't you hear?
Yo,
Hello.
like everybody knows that. And he goes, well, and I think it took years later for me to understand that. Like I heard it, don't get me wrong. I'm like, oh wow, that's
Right.
cool, like you feeling like that. Like, but I'm always gonna feel God this way. And I think it took me going into a certain valley for myself because I went down after like 2020, like when the whole like pandemic happened. I felt like David, where he was just like, yo, I messed up so many times. Like, let me just go up on this mountain real quick. like, like I remember my dad and me talking one time, and we were like, David was one of the first kings and one of the first pastors all at once. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I always loved that. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I'm feeling that right now. I feel like David, like all musty and crusty, and just not being able
Bruh.
to like, like to really understand, like, where did I go wrong? Like, ah, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna go in a quick tangent. Will you allow me to have that?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead. Real
Most of
quick
my life,
before you even say that, you said where did I go wrong? And I just want to highlight the fact, and I'm gonna say this real quick. You didn't go wrong. You were wronged.
mm, here we go. That's the spirit right there. That's the spirit right there. Because most of my life, I was like given these weird sicknesses and whatever. And I felt like I was damned to this name because every time a preacher came or this and that, and they found out about what I lived with, like PCOS, like now I understand it. What they would damn me with is the woman of the flujo de sangre, like the woman that could not stop bleeding and she needed to touch the hem of Jesus to feel this like blessing and anointment. And I think I chased after Jesus so much, his hem. Whew, chase after this through person to person. And I'm thinking I'm damned. I'm thinking I'm sick. I'm thinking I'm this thing that needs healing. And 2020 came and I just got like this cloak put through my face. And it's like, you could be the blessing. Like you could be something amazing. Like who told you you're this damnation? You're this thing that has like a stamp on your head, and you have to fight. Like, I've been here the whole time. And what was revealed to me was David. Like, everybody counted him out. Everybody looked at him like, you're nothing. You're just this musician. And then finally they're like, you're nothing but just this soldier. And then finally he did so good in that. And they're like, you're nothing but a king. Like, he's just thing after thing. And finally David's left alone to be like, what else can I be? Like, God, I just need you to reveal yourself once again in my life. And I just wanted that, like, that time with God to be like, who am I? Like, break me down. I should have never said that. I'm gonna let you guys know that. I'm like, break me down, God, because I have all these statues, even though people have told me not to believe in saints or anything, but I have all these statues in front of me of leaders that have wronged me, leaders that have looked down on me, leaders that I emulated. It's like you have them all around you. And I was like, just break me down, God. Like, just make me something again, because all I feel is that haunting anger again, and not at you anymore, but just at man. And I would laugh with people. I would, find things that are funny, but like, at the end of the day, you have that lingering doubt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is he going to do something? And boy, did God do something. He isolated us as a whole. He said, you ain't going to have nobody to talk to. You ain't going to have nobody to sit with. You're not going to have, because if not, you know what I mean, a plague can be on you. Like, that's as much as I could think of it. I'm like, I'm not going to endanger anybody's life, even though as badly as I want that connection with Eric or with this person, I can't. I got to just look within. I saw anger issues. I saw, doubt. I saw things that I didn't want to, control, things I didn't want to see about myself, things that, weren't going to benefit me in the long run. The girl that I thought I was, that's not here anymore. I'm a woman now. I have to see things for what they are. I got to be accountable for certain things. And even if it hurt, like, I have to speak it out loud because it's in here and it's here. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm forgiven, or I'm fine with that. I can move on. And it's like, no, speak it out loud. Say it. And it would just be like that, like, say it. And I'm like, I've only got myself. Like, who am I to say it to?
Yeah.
Say it out loud. And I'm like,
Wow.
am I crazy? And I would have to confess it. I'm like, I am a sinner. Like, I've messed up. I've really let you down, God. Like, I really did. And then it's just tumbling. It's tumbling to the point where I'm writing it. And even when I'm like driving or whatever, it's like I would just break down in tears, and I'm just like, thank you, God, because even with tears, I always, this about me, I feel shame because I'm like, what should I be crying about? Shouldn't I be this perfect woman standing in front of people?
Yeah.
She should be it. She has everything going for her. So because she has Christ, because that's the famous thing. If you have Christ, there's no problems. And it's like, I have problems. Like, I want to say them, but who do I trust? Who do I say it to? If they're not crying, then I'm not going to cry either. So it's so hard. Whew.
Yeah. No, it's first of all, thank you for sharing that, because oh, man, it was so powerful when you said, here I am with all of these statues, and they're of the people that I'm trying to emulate. And that was what those leaders were building up. A bunch of man-made rules, a bunch of and maybe not all of them were man-made, maybe, but they were just exaggerated, right? And which I think is just as bad, because the church is meant to be a place of healing, a place where we come and we worship Jesus and we learn how to more intimately pursue him. And instead, what they were accomplishing, what they were achieving was pushing you away. Instead, with all of the rules and all of the put downs and the slights and I can't believe somebody said to you, if you were smarter, you would have known not to wear that. That's abuse. And it's crazy to me that the place that is supposed to be a place of healing was instead, to you, it became the place that tore you down. It became a place of indoctrination. It became a place where you were put down for having any thoughts of your own, including having the thought of pursuing a relationship with Jesus on your own terms, which admittedly, okay, I get how that can be dangerous. And I get how the Bible teaches us to shepherd the flock. But shepherding is not just rules. Pastoring a congregation and shepherding a people, discipling people, is about cultivating them, helping them to give fruit, to grow. And yeah, that means you're going to have some tough conversations sometimes, but not all the time. Not everything is about beating them down until they have none of their own thoughts. And I think that the church has gotten it twisted and is trying to take on a role that the Holy Spirit holds. And it's the role of sanctifying the believer. It's the Holy Spirit's job to confront us about sin, to make us more like Christ, to sanctify and wash us. And the church wants to be that. But in doing so, instead, what they're doing is they're hurting people because they don't have the know-how to take a person and lovingly walk them through their sin and show them how it's not worth it, and that instead it's worth it to live for Christ and be like him. That's a lifelong process. And then you've got man's opinion getting into the mix, and you got men and women coming and telling people that what they're doing is sin, and really it's just either at best a personal conviction, at worst a fabricated idea. And that hurts people. It hurts people. And there are people that, like, church hurt is not new and it's not going to go away. And you know what? Not all of it is the church. Some of it is people's immaturity. We all have a piece of the pie, right? But we're talking about this at a macro level, where we're talking about the church, both as an organism and as an organization, if you want to call it that. Okay. And it's like, okay, what do we need to do better as a body and as a physical location at whatever address? What do we need to do to be better to our people? And why aren't we striving for that? Like, this is the type of stuff that really gets under my skin, bro, because it's like, we need to be passionate about being the best possible people that we can be to our people. We need to be passionate about eliminating ourselves. To this day, God has not given me the privilege of being a pastor. But if I was a pastor, I would be doing everything in my power to become better myself. One of the biggest things that I learned at my previous job was not about people, was not about being a better leader, was about myself. I learned things when I got triggered in certain ways because of employees that I had. Yeah. I learned things about me. I learned things about my laziness. I learned things about the fact that I wasn't really there for people. I learned things about what type of people I do well with and I don't do well with, and why I don't do well with those people because of reasons that exist in me. So before you look at other people and you try to point the finger at them, granted, I get you're leading a church, you're leading an organization, you're leading whatever it is that you're leading, and you are tasked with leading these people. So you have to do your best job. At the same time, before you point the finger at them, you need to point it at yourself. And
That's
you
right.
need to ask yourself, am I doing this right? And if you really take an honest, good look at the situation and you realize that you did something wrong, you need to be quick to say sorry. You need to be. You need to be quick to say sorry.
Hmm.
And I'm not hearing a lot of leaders saying sorry.
No.
I'm not hearing a lot of leaders in churches or in the world anywhere, them going to somebody and saying, hey, you know what? I was out of line. I crossed the line.
It looks like weakness.
It looks like weakness. I'm not seeing leaders telling their people, like, "Yeah, listen, I failed you in this regard. I could do better in this." I'm not seeing leaders being able to have the strength to be vulnerable in front of the people that they're leading. Instead, what we're seeing is people just strong arming people as much as they can.
Yep.
And the question then becomes, is that what the church really needs? Is that what the church really needs? I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
Is that what people really need? No. Now, do we have all the answers for what they need when they need you to be firm? Because there are times and situations where you need to be firm. Do we know when we need to show love? Do we know when being firm is love? Do we know what to do when we're wrong all the time? No, not necessarily. I understand that. But if at the end of the day, you're able to take a look in the mirror and realize that you did something to hurt people, then that's a big first step. And I think that if more of your leaders did that, Susan, you would have been a lot less angry.
Yeah, I believe it. Because it was something I had to like struggle with myself. I'm like, but they don't act that way. Is it because I have to act that way? And it wasn't. You're one of those kind of first leaders that I saw that would say sorry. And I'm like, but I feel like I did something wrong. Like I yelled at him. Like, and you'll be like, I failed you as a leader. And I'm like, that's a lot for me. That's a lot for me because I'm like, I don't see that. I didn't see that in my household. I didn't see that in my church. You know what I mean? Like, I am above you. So what you did was wrong. And it was never like, hey, I'm going to get off my high horse real quick. I'm sorry. And then it's like, but you're better than me. You're a leader. Like that's how it looks like in my opinion. Doesn't make
Yeah.
probably for a lot of people, but for me, you know what I mean? For you to like actually come and kneel down, like it's like almost like the bend, like you're bending the knee, like those kind of things look weak. They don't look like a actual strong leader, and it's like I that perception has gone a long time ago because it's like these people are fruitful in their life. These people are happy people. These people that do that, their testimony speaks like in high volumes. You know what I mean? It's like these are good people. These people bring me peace. These people bring me calm. You know what I mean? And it's like I have a supervisor like this now at my job where she's our age. You know what I mean? She's just this person that doesn't even care. She's like, yo, that was my fault. Like she just talks like
Yeah.
that. She's like, I did that. Or she'll even if it's not her fault, she's like, I got you. I'll write back to whoever it is and I'll take the blame. Let's see if they fight me. You know what I mean? And she's like,
Yeah.
even though it's my fault, even though it's my fault, she's just like, I got your back. She don't know me from nobody. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
but if people were like that, if we were all just thinking, you know, I've worked for this title, I've done this, you know, and I've done that, I'm not going to go back to that person where I guess I was mopping or I was brooming. I would have said sorry then, but now like I'm in these higher altitudes, get out of here. And it's like, for me, I just wish we would all just humble ourselves every day. You know what I mean? And just take that route and just, hey, you know, you don't know where that person's coming from. I don't know where you're coming from, but let's meet again. Let's build that relationship again. Like I'm not better than you and you're not better than me. And in the church, it's like that. Like you know, like I'm the
Mm-hmm.
salmista of this church, or I'm the predicador of this church. You know what I mean? Like everybody wants to live in that bubble forever. And you're just like, it's a community. We're here together. We're doing Christ. You know, we're doing all of this like it should be beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was so tough, you know, stepping on toes, I'm walking on eggshells here. And it's like, it should not be like this. We have corporate America for that. We have, the streets for that. We have all these other
The
outlets, like one,
streets.
the streets. I'm sorry to You know what I mean, Eric?
Nah, it's true though. It's
You
true.
have everything.
It's street behavior.
I,
We
and
got
that's why I'm
street
just like,
behavior up in the church, and y'all need to chill.
that's it.
You need to
Coming
chill.
from
Like
Eric and
people,
Sue.
you need to chill, man. You need to chill. Like it's
Eso
street.
es todo.
It's ratchet behavior. That's
And
what
I
it
hate
is.
it. It's like this means of survival. Like I gotta keep at this level and I'm gonna step on everybody so that you just don't have it. I'm like, which one is it? Either we have this strict behavior or this like gangster mentality. Like
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
One of the worst things you can have is an emotionally immature leader.
Ooh.
That's one of the worst things you can have or you can be. If you are one, typically you do not know you're emotionally immature. You think you have all your junk together and everybody's talking about you behind your back.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
It sucks. And the church is not exempt from this. It's not. And I wish by virtue of the fact that the leader is emotionally immature, it's obvious that you can't talk to them. So my hope is that anybody who hears this, who might be in a leadership position, you might, at the very least, every once in a while, do something that I tend to do. I just try to examine myself. I ask myself, is there anything that I'm doing that's emotionally immature right now? Or when you do have somebody that you're leading that's brave enough to call you out on something, even if it hurts and it stings, try to listen. They're not always right. But sometimes there's at least an element of truth to what they're saying.
Yep.
Maybe they have some emotional immaturity in it as well, right? Maybe that could be the case, or they're a hard person to lead, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? You have your reasons why you don't want to listen. Plus, it's also hurtful for you, right? But if you can't at least consider it, then you are emotionally immature. I'm going to tell you right now, if you can't at least consider it, like you cannot bring your emotions down enough to be able to say, okay, I wonder if there's any truth to this. Or maybe bring it to another person like, hey, this person told me this, and I'm just wondering, I want to open myself up to the possibility that there's some truth to this. And I just wonder, is there anything in this that you hear that you've witnessed before? And asking a person who is not scared of you. And listen, right? Take that into consideration, because it's only going to result in your growth. It's only going to result in you becoming a better person. It's only going to result in you being a better leader, right? What's the worst that could happen? You take it into consideration and you realize that 100% of it is false. Like they're just wilding. Like there are people who they just be tripping sometimes. I've been there, right? I've been tripping before, and God had to call me out, right? But if that's worst case scenario is that you're right. And you wanted to be right in the first place. What you're scared of is being wrong.
Yeah. You did something like that with me. I remember you were like, Sue, like we need to talk. And we had just done the Enneagram, I believe, in our workplace. And you were like, Sue, you come off abrasive. And you're like, I don't want you to get confused with aggressive or anything, but you come off abrasive. Like your body language, you don't have to say anything, but we could feel it. I'm like, this man don't know nothing. I was like, that's just me being Latin.
He don't know what he's talking about.
No, I was like, I'm Latina. Like that was just something that's like ingrained in our culture. Like that's just the strong women of like her, like past generations. Da, 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 da. But it was here. Like you get me, it was here. And I remember like maybe years later after that conversation, because it always lingered. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, am I being a little too abrasive right now? Am I being a little too much? So I
Uh-huh.
would try to soften myself in ways. And I remember I was with my older sister, and I was like, can you believe it? You know, like they were like, you need to calm down. I was like, that goes back to a conversation I had with Eric. I was like, he said I was like abrasive and this and that. And she just looks at me like a kind mother, tilts her head, and she's like, Sue, you know you're like that. And I was like, hold on, wait. I was like, what you mean?
I'm talking to you so that you can be on my side.
Like, I need you to be my sister right now. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, do you not know who our mother is? Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
not know? And then she's like, you know, there's a lot of feeling that's involved with this. She's like, I had to go through it. People would tell me and I would fight them. She's like, you have a good friend. She's like, because a lot of those people that told her that no longer in her life. And she's like, and for him to still be around, like with your, you know, your attitude. She's like, she's like, I really don't know. She's like, you can look into it. She's like, just become accountable to your actions. I'm like, okay. So I was like, dang, you know, like, I was like, she's lived with me. She knows
Yeah.
me. I was like, I can't fight it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need 10 million people telling me. I was like, it's two people that know me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still my friends and they love me. I was like, but they're
Right.
telling me, like, girl, you got to work on it. Not that you stop cold turkey, just work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. The key
Right?
is working on it.
That's it. Like, it's not like I can't, you know, you need to find that happy medium. And it was tough. You know, I told Everson, call me out when I do it. Um, Even my sister, she's like, you need to take it down. Like, I had to just feel safe, you know, with the person to tell me when I was doing it. And if
Right.
they were doing it too much, I was like, okay, shut up, calm down. Like,
Yeah, because I'm working on it, right? Because that's the thing. When you start to work on something, like it takes a lot of your mental and emotional energy
yes,
because you're constantly becoming aware of all the situations. And sometimes you'll be doing it and you're like, I'm doing it right now, but I don't want to stop.
yeah,
Because you're being a natural part of yourself that you took on yourself due to some type of traumatic or hurtful experience that caused you to be that way in order to survive.
yes, sir. And it's
And
hard
so,
because
and it's
it.
hard because you're unlearning something that you learned for so many years, and you can't expect yourself to relearn something that you learned through so many experiences and years. So you got to
Especially in
give
our
yourself
town.
grace. Yes. And then you also got to not perceive your loved ones calling you out on it as an attack
Mm, yes, yes,
because you're like internal. They don't know what's going on internally. They don't know how much you're working on it. They just know that it's happening again.
yeah,
And they love you enough to say it again, but you're like, oh, I'm working on it. So you don't see me working on it. Like I feel that 100%. I've been there. And oddly enough, it reminds me of something that you told me.
oh, was it good or
Um,
bad?
Nah, you told me I was whack.
Oh, wax sauce.
Do I look whack to you? No, I'm just kidding. I remember the time you came up to me one day and you told me, "Hey, listen, I just want to talk to you about something, Eric. I noticed that lately, or I've noticed for a while, that you don't really share about yourself, and it seems like you think that the staff doesn't care about you." And I don't know if you remember. I was about to cry because I really did feel that way. And I told
Hmm.
you that.
Yeah.
I said, they don't. Why would I talk about myself? They don't care about me. They just care about
Hmm.
what I do for them. And you were like,
I do.
that's not true. We do care about you. And when you're going through something, we want to know because we want to be able to be there for you. And I heard you, but I still did not talk about myself because it was too hard for me. Take that and fast forward until now, this year, 3 months ago. You know what the Lord said to me? He said, I was like creating content, right? Which has been a long and tough process. And he says to me one day, "You're not being yourself." And you're probably thinking, like, why are you connecting those two things? Because they're the same reason. Like, I wasn't sharing about myself because I didn't think people cared, and then I wasn't being myself because I felt like I needed to be a really idealized and almost perfectionist version of myself so that people would listen to my content. And at BFL, I felt like I needed to be the perfect leader, the leader that they could look up to. Right. So if I share too much, which is funny because I wouldn't have a problem being vulnerable in the sense that I'd cry in front of you guys. But if I had to be personal,
Yeah.
that was too much for me.
That
Right.
wall will come up.
Isn't that funny? And when God told me you aren't being yourself, it was like I realized that I didn't know who I was.
Mm.
And that is a very scary thought. And it was also very humbling for me because I used to make fun of people that said I'm finding myself.
Aww.
I used to be like, that's so dumb. Why do people say I'm finding myself? ¿Qué es eso? Talking about
Qué
finding
tonto.
myself. You don't know who you are?
You're a
And then
whole
God
30.
said, God said that to me, and I realized I don't know who I am. Mm-hmm. And I had to ask him. And God started to take me through all of these different experiences that I had, which you witnessed many of them, not all of them, but a lot of stuff happened to me in first, second, and third grade. But you came along in fourth grade and you saw me with the whole Jupiter and Animorphs. And I'm not going to talk about those times.
Oh, but you were just you. You were just
I was just me. I was a weird, quirky, nerdy kid who was very passionate about what I liked. And whenever I was those things, everybody would look at me like, what the heck is wrong with this kid?
But and the thing is, since I would look at you, you're just unfazed. Like you just go back to doing what you were doing. And you're like, right. Everybody's staring at you and you're just like, anyways,
right.
Back to me.
For a while, I was like that until after a while, it got to me.
Aww.
It got to me after a while. And then God showed me that I just learned to be what I felt like people would accept.
Yes. And I could see that by the time you were like in sixth grade. You just got to find your drum again, bro. That's it.
Yeah.
Just find it.
And like, I feel like I'm in a much better place right now.
Heck yeah.
Right, with it. And I'm open to whatever else God is going to show me. But that just goes to show, because that was what, 2018, maybe you said that to me. And we're in 2023. So it took that many years for like the next step of it for me to like see it, and for God to be like, okay, now you're ready for me to tell you what Susan was seeing back in 2018. To a degree, right? Not to the degree that God saw it, but you shared something with me and it was too hard for me. Yeah. And so, like, I'm just wondering if there's people listening who your friends and your loved ones might be sharing things with you that are really hard to hear. And instead of becoming offended, instead of letting your walls go up, instead of doing all of that, maybe you need to be open, even though it's painful. Because while it may be painful, it will eventually lead to your healing.
Amen. Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been scared to tell you hard stuff. That's our relationship has been like that since we were kids. Right? I've always been like straight up with you. And I'm not like that with everybody, which is funny because you're like a very like, nah type of person, like you will fight, but
and you're just over there like, I just need you to calm down. Like, you're just too much over there.
No, but like, if you have somebody in your life that's like that, bro, hold on to them.
Yeah.
You need people, you need friends who keep it real with you. And then sometimes they're going to be off. They might be off sometimes, and that's okay too. maybe they tell you something that's not true and it offends you, it hurts your feelings. And that's okay too. Like, have grace for them. Like, maybe they, ate a burger that was bothering their stomach that day. I don't know.
But I found
But
out too
either
for
way, you gotta
myself, I
listen.
have to, yeah, expose. And that was another thing too, just showing who I am. Like I told you, I was built to be like this, I guess, like person to be like, I'm so strong. I am so comforted by Christ, It's like,
I am
there's,
comforted by Christ.
and there's nothing
What was
wrong
it?
with me.
What was it? Mega Christian? What was it you
Mega
said?
Christian.
Mega Christian.
Like, that's it. Like, I didn't have too much. And it, I started like just sharing, like, I'm not happy today. I'm not this, like I had to go to therapy, which was very anti-Christian because all you needed was the love of God and that was it.
Why do I picture rays of sunshine flying out of Christians? All you need is the love of God. It's like, bro, therapy. That's a whole
Yeah.
other topic.
But maybe that's why God has like created something in you because a lot of these pastors were just exalted into what they had to have and they didn't have everything they needed. Like,
That's
so
the
it's
thing.
like,
This is the thing about it. Like, therapy, why would God create wisdom that's good enough to bring healing to your life and then not want you to use it?
come on, come on. And I'm one of those people
But
that, I go hard. Like, even when I would minister for the
hard.
church, hard, okay? I would, though. Like, I would prepare myself. Like, when I wanted to sing, like, there are things like when people feel, I bet you feel the anointing when it comes to you delivering your words and you feel the strength behind it when you start
Mm-hmm.
speaking and you just like, I feel you, God. Like, I honestly feel my words getting to these people right now. And I don't want it to stop
Yeah.
because it's such a connection that even for non-believers, like I wish I could like show them, but you can't. You can only feel it. That's how I would feel when I was ministering through, song. It's nothing that I get or the same feeling that I would ever have with like if I'm singing a Katy Perry song, this and that,
Uh-huh.
you get me? It's just
That's
there's
funny.
something, you know what I mean, where you just lock in and you're just like, oh, we're doing this, God. We're doing this right
Mm-hmm.
now. Like we're just gonna about to talk to these people, and it's not in words; it's more in a melody. And I don't know. I really can't explain it, but I think only other like musicians or even preachers, like they can feel that they just lock in, and that's it. It's you and the people, and if you're willing and you allow it to happen, it happens. And I actually got lost in explaining all of this. I don't know why I was saying all of this. But that's the it.
I'm listening to you and I'm like, yeah, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. I know
because
exactly what you're
I
talking about. Then you're like, you know what? I don't know what I was getting at.
because it was like I know I had a point, but then I just was remembering the moments when you were
Mm-hmm.
there. Ah, I remember now. Thank you, God. Um, I would pour into the community because I'm like, God, I know you need me to give, but because I wouldn't pour into myself, go and find
Mm.
therapy, go and speak to somebody because I was so scared to talk to my leaders, like 100, like speak to them like without feeling shame or feeling fear of them knowing what was going on in with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so scary. And it's like, I found you and Joanne. I found a lot of people that if I had you guys at the time, I think I could have been a better leader. But God has his
Yeah.
paths for us, his
Yeah.
plans. And I honestly just would give everything to the church. And I think God had to show me that, like, you're giving everything. And I get that, but you're not giving yourself anything, Susan, anything at all.
Yeah.
Because I had to fight everything in here, everything right here. And I could laugh with you guys. I could laugh with friends and stuff, but it was never like, you did always these things where you were like, I want more. Let's talk for real. Like, it wouldn't be like, hey, good morning. How's your day going? You'd be like, I'm just in this existential moment, Susan. And I'm like, I'm good. I had coffee this morning.
I don't like small talk.
You hate
I,
small
I
talk.
smell. You remember when you guys would come into the office and people would be like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'd just be like, I'm good, thank you. But
That's,
if a good conversation popped off, you would see me like,
you would transform. You're like,
yeah,
this is my jam right here.
I'm
But I
working on it.
needed someone like that. But no, I think you are those kind of people that need to interrupt small conversation. Like, nah, we gotta get down to the nitty gritty. And I would get scared sometimes. I was like, oh
Yeah.
boy, here we go.
Some
Here
people
comes
don't
the
like that.
Lord. But it's
Yeah.
your gift. It's your gift, and it's a beautiful one because people like myself who would hide in this perfection of walking in and being like, that girl's got it together. Look at her. She's the loudest one in the room. You're like, I see right through that. Cry, girl. Cry right now. And I'm like, what does he want me to cry for? But deep down, you see it. You see it.
Mhm.
You're like, you're in so much pain right now. And everybody else, you got fooled. But you're in pain right now. Let's talk about it. And I'm like, oh no. But that's the beauty of you marrying Christ and like therapy in general. And God in his divine ways got you a wife that also knows those life skills. So you
Yeah.
guys help each other out and have God in the mix. And it's such a beautiful thing. That's why I'm like, that's something that needs to be ushered into the church. And
Mhm.
these are going to be one of the pioneers for it. Not because they were 18 or 19. God called you at that time, but now you're in your 30s. There's this wisdom that is coming in, that nurturing that you need to learn. You have it through your daughters as well. And I know that God's going to do something great. And that's a church that we need, but it's not going to
Mhm.
be rushed like the times of before, where people
Yeah.
just needed to build a church and let's get people in here. And if they're hurt, whatever, we're going to get a bunch of another ones, you know,
Wow.
not to make the
Yeah.
church look like that, but that's
No, no,
how a
no.
person,
And a lot of
I've
people
seen it.
don't do it they don't do it intentionally. They're not doing it intentionally. They're not trying to be that way, but they're just not willing to have the tough conversations with themselves, with other people. They're not willing to look in the mirror and look at themselves and say, okay, what do I need to improve? Or to like I've been in rooms before with like church organizations where the like I remember once recently I was in a room of something that I'm a part of, and the leader came in and he said, I don't want anybody to be negative. We're not going to talk about anything negative and anything that we need to improve right now. We're only talking about positive stuff. And I was like, okay, like if that's what you want, I respect it, first of all. But what you don't realize is that you're sucking the life out of the room because you just remove 50%. It's never really 50%, but you get what I'm saying. You remove
Mm-hmm.
50% of the ideas or things that people want to talk about. And
Yep.
now you got people questioning, should I talk about this? Should I not talk about this? Is this worth talking
Yep.
about? Right. And I'm not gonna say that I'm not that I'm exempt from ever having sucked out of the air out of the room in my leadership style or my approach to things or whatever, because I know that I have done it before. It just comes to a point where what I'm saying is that you have to be willing to listen to people when they tell you that you did that,
Mm-hmm.
or to catch it yourself, even if you could get really good at it, because that's hard. Or if you're seeing that something is not working, like when we were at BFL towards the end, I was like, this is not working. Right, the pandemic stopped everything, but
Yeah.
I was like, this is not working. I need to stop looking at them. I need to start looking at me.
Wow.
And what am I doing wrong? And I knew what I was doing wrong. I didn't get a chance to implement it, but I had like several things where I was like, if I make a conscious effort at this and stop being a jackwagon and really start approaching this with a real approach, taking care to really carry it out, it's gonna make a difference.
That's right.
Because when you're the leader, you're the only one that really can make a true change and difference in a respectable amount of time. Can
Yes.
people in the organization do? Yes, they can. It takes a little bit longer and it takes a little bit more effort. But when you're the leader, you have all of this in your hands. You could really make a difference. And you don't care enough to ask yourself, hey, this isn't working. Maybe I need to do something a little differently, you know? And
Yep.
so we have to be willing to do that.
Yes.
We have to. Anyways, I think that's a perfect time to wrap up. What do you think, Sue?
I do.
Awesome conversation. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Eric.
You are
Thank
an awesome soul. You're a little abrasive, but
oh, I'm trying.
no, you're. If nobody told you any recently, you're doing a great job. You're just doing a great job in so many ways, and I just pray that whatever God has next for you, that you'll see it as the blessing that it is, and that you'll receive it as the blessing that it is.
Amen.
Don't be afraid of God.
Mm.
Don't be afraid of God. Don't be afraid of his move. It seems to me like a lot of the torment and heavy-handedness that the church had on you, it's like if you keep hitting a dog, if it gets a new owner and they come and they try to approach it, that dog is going to be scared that they're going to get hit. You ever seen a dog that was abused before?
Yep.
It's a really sad, it's like heartbreaking. I've seen it a couple times. And it's like that dog could have the most loving owner, but because all of the years of abuse and torment, they don't know how to receive that love.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, and you pray about this, but I'm wondering if some of the experiences you've had have made you afraid of interacting with God. And if it has, I just want to pray that God heals you from that, and that in this next season you would be open to a fresh relationship with him.
Amen.
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 So thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to connect with Susan, how can they connect with you?
I don't know. I'm kidding. Don't
give them your phone number, dog.
It's you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook.
Yeah. So I'll have links. No, I have links to that below. Okay. So you guys can see that to her Instagram and to her Facebook, and you guys can hit her up there. Either way, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and that you have an amazing week. God bless you guys. Have a great day. See you guys next week. Peace. Millennial peace sign.